Hey guys, it's your boy Mark, co-owner with Curtis Russell of GreatHomesATL, principal broker. And what do I have behind me? A whiteboard. Yes. Educational series. I wanted to bring a little bit new school, new technology, but also bring it back to how most of us grew up, whether it's the chalkboard or the whiteboard. When I was asked for Christmas, what did I want? As you guys, have seen me out and about, I'm just an everyday guy. Like a few labels, but for the most part, I have really what I want, and anything I do want, I'm just going to get myself. So, as a business owner, it's really always important to me to figure out ways to grow the business, to connect with you guys. And when I started with Kurt, Great Homes ATL, back in 2015, in our own brokerage firm, which we launched in 2020, as now our Instagram, our Facebook, our YouTube, we have well over 100,000 followers. One of the things that really connected people to us from the beginning was when I would jump on IG, or we would do cocktails with Kurt, and we would do some education. And as the company grows, of course, we have different things like our general consultation, home buyer university, which we do on a quarterly basis. Stay tuned for more ebooks and more educational tools for you, more YouTube shows, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to, as I was, approached by, some ideas for Christmas, um, I actually asked my mother-in-law, I said, one of the things on my list was a whiteboard because I wanted to get back to the roots and actually start an educational series for you guys that's hopefully going to, be across our platforms, whether our website, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Um, and other social media outlets that we're going to have going forward to go back to our roots, to really kind of show you the power of real estate, kind of show you from a layman's term, if you've never owned real estate before, what these terms are, how to go about it. And I'm excited to bring this series to you. So it's not going to be something that is hopefully over your head. It's more so, as you can see, baseball cap, hoodie on. We always bring it to you real, like how we are in real life, nothing overly produced. So I think this is going to be really informative. So I want to start on thank you. I put this out there a few weeks ago. I said, hey, I have this whiteboard. I want to do this educational series. And people started sending me names of ideas of what to name it. And we came up with, thank you to everybody out there in the social media universe, it's going to be called the Markup. Cute, right? Why? Because I'm Mark. And number two, because what do you do to a whiteboard? You mark it up. So I think it's a great name for our new educational series called The Markup. And thanks, mother-in-law, for getting it for me. And hopefully you guys could hear me really good. We've got the Bluetooth microphone going, high tech, right? But hopefully you guys could hear me, nice and clear when I'm presenting this to you. So let's start with episode one. It's probably going to be a two-parter because there's a lot to get through. But a couple of weeks ago, I had posted about a grand opening, a new home townhouse community coming to Austell. And I had mentioned that with the preferred lender and the builder, they were giving $15,000 in closing costs to anybody that was going to go under contract that qualified. So let's just start first and foremost for anybody brand new to real estate and not understanding these terms. What are closing costs? So closing costs make up of like attorney fees, lender fees, underwriting fees. You've heard terms like appraisals, setting up an escrow account, which is if you've never rented before, right? When you buy a property, now you're responsible for property taxes. You're also responsible for insuring that property, so homeowners insurance. And if you put 20% or less down in any home, you're going to pay what's called PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance. So these escrow accounts you're going to be paying into every month, but they have to be set up at the closing table. So attorney fees, lender fees, and these escrow accounts account for what's called closing costs. they are the responsibility of every buyer. They're not the responsibility of the seller. So in a situation where a seller does not help you out with closing costs, you are responsible for that. So you should automatically, one thing you should learn off the top is that your mindset is closing costs are not mandates from a seller to give you anything. They are the responsibility of the buyer. But when you have the right team, GreatHomesATL, that develops relationships with great lenders, that knows how to negotiate contracts, that finds you communities where there's a preferred lender and incentives and all that kind of stuff that we'll get into, you can get what's called seller concessions. And so for this example, I wanted to show you to start off episode 1 is those townhomes from this builder were ranging from about 360 to about 395. So for this example, we're going to go off of 385,000. Again, this is an education. These are giving you ranges and what to expect. Now, a builder, why would they use a preferred lender? So a lot of big national builders, they have sometimes in-house lenders, right? In-house lending, it's all a part of the same company. It's all under the same umbrella. If it's a local builder or somebody that's not as big, they want to make sure that this deal closes, that the person that they're pre-qualifying all the way to the closing table is going to keep them in the loop. So there really is no incentive to use an outside lender when there's a preferred lender, because that builder and that lender are probably meeting multiple times a week. That builder can pick up, or the on-site agent that works for that builder can pick up an actual phone or send an email and say, hey, what's the status with this loan? You don't always get that, right? When they don't have trust with an outside lender, because this particular lender has worked really hard to get their business. They're providing great rates. They're maybe teaming together to help provide some of those seller concessions. And they're able to give updates from the builder side when cabinets go in and they know, like, okay, now we're approaching 45 days, 30 days to closing. They're communicating directly with the buyer, the agent, which would be us, and the attorney's office that we have a closing date. Now appraisals need to start getting ordered. Rate locks can be discussed, things like that. So preferred lenders are usually used for new home construction. So in this example, for their grand opening, they were offering $15,000. Going to use marker number 1, $15,000, huge, huge incentive to help the buyer in this transaction when you use the preferred lender and a portion of it is given for the builder. So maybe in this scenario, the builder's given $7,500, the lender's given $7,500, maybe the builder's given $10,000, the lender's given $5,000. But because of that relationship, you, the buyer, get the benefit of that. And I want to show you now how substantial it is when you have these type of opportunities. We're going to start with the first 2 columns. I think we'll run out of time. These are 15-minute increments I have to do for these videos. So we'll try to get through the first 2. So let's start right here with VA. What does VA stand for? That stands for Veteran Administration. So if you are a disabled veteran, active duty, retired, spouse of a veteran, you may qualify, good chance you will, and if you haven't used it yet, a VA, Veterans Administration loan. It is a fantastic, fantastic loan. It makes sense because this person, this family has made a sacrifice, maybe moving overseas, serving the country, being in war-torn areas of the world. They've sacrificed. They've supported democracy around the country, around the world. You are owed this type of loan, and it's a great one. So let's start with some of what these terms are going to be, right? Over here. DP, what does that stand for? Down payment. CC, closing costs. LBC, lender builder credit. That's that $15,000 we just talked about. And earnest money. Let's talk about what EM means, earnest money. So when you're renting a property, you might have something called security deposit. You should not look at that as the same when you buy a home. Earnest money is basically sellers or builders, they typically ask for something that the buyer has some kind of skin in the game. Hey, if I'm going to accept your offer, if I'm going to take my house off the market for a week, for 3 weeks, for 60 days, for 90 days. I'm going to build you a house. I need some skin in the game. So typically they'll ask for 1%, 2%, 5% in a very competitive market, even up to 10%. But this particular builder is only asking for 1%. So how do you get that number? 385,000 times 0.01. And you'll notice that's the same across the board. So in order to buy one of these townhomes, go under contract, you have to just put $3,850. Now that is your money. That money is not somebody else's. It's not in addition to the down payment. It's not in addition to the closing costs. It's actually a line item that you will see at the end of your transaction on closing day. The only way you lose that is if at the very last minute you've gotten through your financial contingency, your appraisal contingency, your inspections, all that kind of stuff. And a couple days before, you're like, those have expired and not closing day. I'm getting cold feet or I've changed my mind. You can't just do that. You can't just do that without a penalty. You would lose that money. But 99% of the cases, people are very excited. They're ready to close. They've planned their move. They've hired their movers. Everything, all the contingencies have met. You've got conditional approval, final approval. That money is sitting in a trust account at the lawyer's office or at the listing broker, which will be dispersed on closing day. So that is your money. So let's run down. VA, the biggest benefit, no money down, zero down. We're going to look at the closing costs. How do we get to figure what closing costs are? Closing costs typically range between 3 and 4% on average of the sales price or the appraised value of the home. So in this example, we're just going to take 3.5%, right down the middle. What an average 3%, 3.5%, between 3 and 4%, we're going to use 3.5%. So 385,000, you multiply that by 0.035. And across the board, you'll see closing costs are going to, on average, run you $13,475 on this $385,000 price point. Now, this is where the excitement comes in. That LBC, the lender builder credit, they're giving $15,000, as you can see. So right here, you're going to have 0 plus $13,475 minus the $15,000 that they're going to give you. And you've already put the $3,850, that 1% down. So what does this mean? ECC, estimated cost to close. Is that a negative mark? It is. Hence I put my little red magnet right here in the red. That means you are going to get back $5,375. Whoa. Time's running a little close here, so I'm going to probably just finish this column and then we'll finish the last 3 in part 2. But what can you're telling me I could buy a $385,000 house. You're telling me for most Americans, for most people around the world, like $1 million is the benchmark, right? $250,000 is $250,000. So a huge, a significant price point, but very fair for Greater Atlanta, $385,000. Wait, a veteran, somebody using a VA loan, when they get that $15,000 for the seller concession, I'm going to get money back like that. It's not going to cost me anything to close on this house. Like I'm actually going to get money back to closing. That's the situation that would happen. Other situation. Now I have money to buy some furniture, to do a trim wall, to build out a bar, to get a bedroom set. Or I could use that money. Hey, say interest rates are 6%, 6.25. I can use all that money to buy down the interest rate to get $200, $250, $300 off my monthly payment because I have this extra money to use. That is huge. $385,000 townhouse, brand new with a warranty because they're offering that $15,000 and it's a no money down loan. The sky's the limit. I'm getting money back. I'm going to break even, not owe anything, and use that money towards points to buy down the rate. That's the advantage. That's the huge thing about when opportunities like this come up. All right, that's part 1 of episode 1, guys. Stay tuned for episode 2. We're going to get into these last 3 columns. Hope you're enjoying.